Jennifer from Doggy U, and I'm out in Denver, Colorado staying with a few friends who happen to also own a dog. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to teach you a little bit about how I introduce two new dogs, especially if they have to live together, even if it's just for a week or it could be for a lifetime. The first thing that I always do when introducing two dogs is what's called parallel walking, walking together. And if I can, I want to do that in a neutral environment. So I want to go to a location that both dogs do not claim as their own home. That way they can meet each other on neutral ground. When I do parallel walking, I definitely don't start with the dogs greeting. I start with the dogs at least several yards apart, if not further than that, depending on the dog's personalities. So I want to start with us walking together, but separately. They're not going to get a chance to sniff yet. What we're going to start with is lots of cookies for being around the other dog, for looking at the other dog, and then looking up at you, and ignoring the other dog in general. Going to a neutral environment gives them the opportunity to sniff around and ignore the other dog because there's lots of other fun things going on. If the circumstances allow, I'm going to do parallel walking for several days before I ever introduce the dogs. This is especially important for dogs that may not be in love with other dogs but can tolerate one dog once they know them well. It's best to do the parallel walking process for at least a week, every single day, so that they can get used to each other from a distance. After you've spent some time parallel walking, and that means a good half hour to 45 minutes if you can, you want to introduce them in an open space. So it's not ideal to then go directly into the house and introduce them in this closed environment. Ideally, you have a yard or an open space that can contain them, but also give them the opportunity to move away. Some dogs are going to be nervous if they get into that closed environment and feel like they need to fight because there's no other option. When you give them lots of space to do the actual meeting, you're going to have a higher opportunity for success. So what I'm going to do is typically I'm going to have the dogs on some type of drag line, just in case something gets out of hand, I have that safety net, and I'm going to allow them to greet. Once they greet each other, which should be in a nice C shape where they're sniffing each other's butts and not directly at each other nose to nose, we want to make sure our leash is not tight for this. That's very important. Tight leashes and nose to nose causes fights. So we want to have a nice loose leash. Long line is the best idea. Allow them to greet each other, and then call them back to you and reward them for coming back to you. We want to give them the quick opportunity to meet and then apart again. You want to break up the initial play so nothing escalates too much. Even when they seem comfortable with each other, you want to break up play so that they don't get over-aroused. Lots of play breaks that end in coming to the person and having cookies is just a good procedure for any dog that's playing with another dog. Once they seem comfortable outside, it's time to have them go inside. You want to give the new dog an opportunity to sniff around the house for a few minutes before the dog that actually lives there comes inside. That new dog is going to want to sniff around, and we don't want the dog that already lives in the house to be overwhelming the new dog during that process. So give the new dog a minute or two to sniff around, then bring the dog that lives in the home back inside. Once you do that, you want to keep interaction short again. You want to call them to you, give them cookies. If you call them and they decide not to listen to you, you're going to pick up the drag line, separate them, give them cookies. It's important when you're first starting with brand new dogs, especially if they have to live together in the household, to have those short interactions and to use barriers and crates as a management tool. It's totally fine for you to barrier the two dogs apart if they're the type of dog that's going to fence fight or something like that, then two barriers so that they're not touching each other, where they can have time to separate from the new dog and relax. Now, some dogs will totally hit it off right away and you won't need to do this, but some dogs take a little while to warm up. My dog Whip was a little bit nervous about Pumbaa, the big Rottweiler, just because of his size. So we gave them lots of opportunities to be apart and then have fun interactions together. You're not being mean by separating your dogs by any means. You're giving them the opportunity to relax and feel safe, especially if they enjoy a crate. Great time to put them in a bedroom with a crate and something to chew on, and then have them interact again later. One important tip is to keep the interaction supervised until you're really comfortable that nothing's going to happen between the two dogs. If you're not there to watch their body language, something bad could happen and it could ruin the interaction or cause permanent damage. You want to be very involved in this integration process. It's also important to give breaks based on play style. So if one dog is really rambunctious and wants to play all the time and the other dog doesn't want to do that, it's important to give lots of breaks so that the dog that's not as psyched about playing all the time isn't having to correct the other dog and causing a fight. You also want to teach that more high energy dog that it's okay to relax around the other dog. And that's what gaits can help with. So remember, when you're introducing 2 new dogs, take it slow, start with parallel walking, introduce into the yard or open spaces, not in tight quarters, and then give them supervised time together and then time apart to relax and recuperate after playing. If you have any questions about introducing new dogs, comment below. And if you like this video and want to see more, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Happy training!